I'm going to bring it up now. In fact, I might clip it and throw this in at the beginning. But because if they've listened to it by this far, then they won't need to hear what I'm about to say. Guys will check out and they'll be like, oh, this isn't a war story. No one's stacking bodies.
Yeah.
This is, like what's, what, no, almost everyone that listens to this podcast either knows someone that can benefit from this discussion, themselves can benefit from this discussion, or they're currently serving, whether it be military or as a first responder.
Yep.
And you will need to know something about this in the future.
Absolutely.
But because we're not talking about stacking bodies, they're like, well, I'll weigh in at the next episode.
No, I'll tell you need
listen
to know
this episode.
You need to know this because we have a friend. Chris is not an outgoing person talking about this stuff at all. And we got invited to a health symposium at Bragg. The first time he ever, in front of his community, said like, hey, I had something wrong with me.
Yeah, it was weird.
But what drove that was we had a friend.
Yeah, we had a friend who unfortunately put himself on the 22 a day. And like we found out 6 days before that. And, as much as it was like, hey, get in front of a stage and just talk, briefly about your issues. That was still weird, but it was just like, you know what? It's worth it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of regret goes into that about, hey, didn't reach out, didn't notice, all those things, feel horrible about it. But so that's why we're trying to do it now.
Yeah.
But I want to define that as he's somebody that you never thought would. He was young and easy to love and easy to be around. And I knew him longer than Chris did, and always had a smile on his face, always there for other people. And it just was the cumulative stuff and drinking and the wrong meds, and it just ended. And it was shocking that was the person. So everybody says, check in on people. Don't just check in on people. Be community with people.
Yeah.
Men heal in community with purpose.
For sure.
Right? Be in community with people.
And welcome back to the Tier 1 podcast. I am your host, Brent Tucker, owner of First Responder, Coffee, Cigar, and Cask Company. Go to FRCC.shop and use promo code Tier 1 to get 15% off the best coffee, cigars, and bourbon in the country.
And I'm Drew Tucker with First Responder Coffee and Cigar Company. Start your day off with our coffee, end the day with a relaxing cigar. Go to FRCC.shop. Guys, I invite you to join our Patreon, brought to you by Cobalt Kinetics. We're giving away prizes. There's a fitness forum. There's behind-the-scenes exclusive content. There's a gun forum where a Cobalt Kinetics weapons expert is ready to answer all of your gun questions. So join our Patreon. What are you waiting for?
And of course, this episode is brought to you by Human Performance TRT. Go to hp-trt.com for your testosterone and peptide needs. Use promo code Tier 1 to get 20% off. What are you waiting for? Get your blood work done. Find out what your levels are at and use 2026 to become the best version of you. Let's do it, Drew.
Welcome to the Tier 1 podcast.
This is amazing, dude. Check this out, right?
With us today, we have retired Green Beret Chris Lessard. Welcome to the show. Chris is co-owner of Brain Treatment Center, Nova, in Northern Virginia. You guys have two different locations.
Yep.
I love that you're in this space because I've said it before. Anyone that's followed the podcast, sometimes what I hate about experts is that they've never experienced what we went through, yet they're telling us, how we should feel, how it happened, what's going on with no connection to it. And that you very much had. put almost 2 decades in the military. You were with 3rd Group. You were with 19th Group, several combat rotations. So, TBI being something that is near and dear to my heart, and something that you and your wife is here. She works with you as well. We'll introduce her in a little bit after your initial story. But I'm really interested both to hear your story and get into the TBI aspect of it.
Yeah, man. No, again, thanks for having us here. This is absolutely amazing. Thanks for everything you're doing too, like bringing attention to this type of stuff. Yeah. So we started Brain Treatment Center Nova in last year, 2024, July 2024. We originally started it for our son, who's on the autism spectrum. He was nonverbal at 4 years old. At Task Force Dagger, Foundation. Shout out to them. Yeah. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They saw his story, paid for, the whole treatment, the flight, everything to really support us. And within 3 weeks, he started talking for this thing called MERT. For those of you that don't know, magnetic resonance therapy. So we went out there and, I went out there to visit once. She kind of, got the word that, hey, he's talking now. Like I was like, no, he's not. There's no way. So I went out there. I was blown away. I met with him and he was like, hey, Dad, is that a school bus? And I was like, holy shit, I haven't heard this kid talk. That's incredible. Like tears.
Yeah.
But we were out there and a couple of guys from the unit were out there. A couple SF dudes, I think. We're all sitting around a campfire and they were talking about some of the symptoms that they had. And I was like, that's normal. That's team guy shit. They're like, no, dude, get your stuff checked. Like, all right. So we went back and I got checked out for TBI. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, they were like, you have an issue, so that kind of what brought us here. And, I guess we did the whole prep program, went out there 2017.
And we connected on that because I said, I actually went to the same program just a few years after you.
You guys are the best class though.
Well, so. We are the prep all-stars.
Yeah.
Shout out to the prep all-stars. You know who you are. We're still in a signal chat together.
That's awesome, man. Dude, it's good to maintain that connection, dude. So for those of you that know prep, it's a TBI PTSD clinic. It's supposed to be 3 weeks. I think I was there for about almost 10 weeks, something like that. Yeah. I don't actually know anyone that's there for just 3 weeks.
The 3, if I remember right, 3 weeks is like your assessment, of sorts. And then they give you your plan.
Yeah.
And guys are there from maybe a month later to several months later, whatever that plan. And they do. And I love it, just to brag about the prep program for a little bit, because they're also very holistic in their approach. Even though they focus on TBIs and they focus on PTSD, they're like, why we have you checked in as a patient at a world-class hospital? Because you're checked in, we can get you in the front of line of anything.
Yep.
And they have physical therapists, just everything. They check you out from head to toe.
No, it's a great program, because that was the thing. I thought I was going to be there and it's just going to be, talk therapy. And it's not just, that's part of it. But dude, everything from like, I should be wearing glasses right now, but you got me glasses, hearing.
That's right.
All the things they do a lot of blood work. They do an incredible thing there. I really credit prep. And really the VA, they, I was going through a lot of shit back then. Mm-hmm. We'll probably get into that more here in a minute, but, they stabilized me to the point where I could really start to heal. The problem was they stabilized me. It was a lot of medication, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of medication that really, you're not at the point where you're actually functioning, but you're kind of like just meat and bones. It's just kind of, working its way through life. So in 2023, about 6 years after, Sean out in Denver, Brain Performance Center out there, they said, hey, we take TRICARE now. They do MERT therapy out there.
Okay.
They take TRICARE for TMS.
TRICARE for TMS, right? So we went out and he said,
what's TMS?
Transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Okay.
MERT is like a what's the word I'm looking for? A customized version of TMS. So I guess I'll get into that now too. So with MERT, we do an EEG prior, so we kind of get a good idea of the brain. It's not a diagnostic tool at all, but it shows us and our docs and the lab at Wave Neuro, which they help us with the MERT, where the issues are in the brain, what's lacking. And it goes after the alpha intrinsic wave. So what I like to explain it as is, so what MERT does is, say you're in another room, I'm in another room, we close the door and I'm just whispering to you. You're not going to hear me at all. What MERT does is it will make me get louder and louder and louder. So the part of the brain that's not really as active actually starts to hear it, and they start communicating a little bit, and everything starts getting coordinated. So I went out in 2023 and I was like, cool, we're going to get our son more treatment, right? Like, the more, the better. You know, at the time I was like, I'm good on all these medications. Started doing MERT. And within, my goodness, 3 weeks, I started noticing some stuff. The 3-week emotions hit. You remember driving on the highway, like, cause you know, it's a workout for your brain, man. And just like tears. And I'm like, why? Nothing's wrong right now. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But by week 6, I started noticing, wow, I had a dream last night and I remembered it vividly. Dude, I hadn't remembered a dream in like 15 years. You know, sleeping. I was the guy, you know, NyQuil, Tylenol PM, melatonin, whatever I could get, grind it all up. And it would still take me 2 hours to fall asleep. And I'd still wake up during the night. Dude, I did, by week 6, I was like, holy shit, it's taking me 15 minutes to fall asleep. And I'm sleeping through the night. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, small things, right?
Yeah.
Not getting the road rage traffic, anything like that. Have you ever been around Denver at, you know, rush hour? It's horrible. So I called her up. I was like, hey, I'm going to roll the dice here and come off some of these medications because I want to see if this can happen. Flashback to 2017 at prep. They took me off the medication to kind of see where I was at, try out different things.
Okay.
Bro, I was calling her up at like 1 a.m, like, hey, you need to get your ass to the basement. There are snakes downstairs. And she's like, what are you talking about, dude? So
he was very believable. He's like, hey, Marsha, it's cold outside. And we had just moved to Northern Virginia. So I was like, I don't know what's happening here. He's like, it's cold outside. I don't know if I sealed all the pipes coming into the house. We could have snakes in the basement. So I'm like, I got babies asleep upstairs and I'm going down the basement. He's like, I have this stuff. It's called like Real Seal or something like that. He's like, and I'm doing it. Like I'm going along with this. It's little, right? Like not all psychosis is, little green men running around. Sometimes it's snakes in the basement and you can beat your wife. What's that?
I said, you enabled me. Yeah. So, we were a little worried about me coming out because we didn't want it. And I was just me out there with my son by ourselves. Like if I start going into cuckoo land, that's an issue.
But you worked with a neurologist.
I did work with the neurologist. We started coming off the meds slowly. And dude, it's been now over 2 years since I've had any medication at all. And everything's been fine. And that was a lot due to MERT. Go ahead.
And we're not anti-medication by any means. Like it's absolutely necessary sometimes for stabilization purposes. But then there's a cascade effect with that. And we often find with TBI, if you don't know it's TBI, if you're just saying it's depression and you add some of these meds in, it will induce psychosis. It'll increase anxiety.
Yeah, I don't, sometimes you say things in a snippet, get a chance to really, explain it away. I'm kind of anti-medication, kind of. I think, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-medication. There's so many clear and cut cases of medication. But I'm just really, really tired of hearing another story from a veteran who's been over-medicated from doctors. That's just the easy answer. It started before that, with doctors in general and in health. Oh, you have high blood pressure? Well, and you're out of shape and fat? Well, don't tell the patient you're fat. Get in shape and your blood sugar levels and your blood pressure levels and everything. No, let me just give you a medication for this and a medication for that. I'm just tired of the too quick to medicate and overly medicate society that our doctors and our VA, who's supposed to be helping our veterans, are falling into the trap of doing.
Yeah, no, and I think that's huge, right? Because I do think in some cases, like you said, medication is important to at least stabilize, but it doesn't attack root causes. It just says, all right, it attacks symptoms. It's not going to heal a person. It's going to stabilize them so they can heal. And that's kind of what happened to me, but it's not the answer. And to your point, it's like if someone goes into anybody, they're in there for any doctor in there for 10 minutes and I'm depressed. Cool. Here's an SSRI. It's like, bro, that's not, I honestly believe that for not everybody at all. We see a lot of them that come in our clinic, hydration, decent nutrition. You don't even have to be a health nut. You know, physical activity, again, you don't need to be a triathlete, a CrossFitter, or anything crazy. And then decent sleep, that would probably cure 90% of the issues that are out there with some people.
It's not a pitch. It's just true. It's why I got into it. It's why I'm so emotional about it, you know, with the TRT company.
Yeah. Because
it's not just, and I'm sure you'll get into this, but the low levels of vitamin D and the low levels of testosterone associated with PTSD and TBI, especially when you start putting them together, that alone, it makes it impossible of sorts to be active and then go to the gym and then tire yourself out at the gym so you can have a good night's sleep.
Right.
To have that hormonal balance. It's just, and again, it's not the end all be all, but let me tell you, my testosterone was double digits. And there's just no way I was ever going to, I felt like I was dying.
Yep.
Well, that's like that's the downstream effects of TBI, right? Because you get the head hit and then you have ATP is like the energy currency of the cell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a higher demand for ATP. So that's pulling it away from other things. And that's why we see the hormones really go out of whack, and we see a lot of things. At our clinic, we do MERT therapy. There's a lot of great MERT clinics out there all over. It's very accessible now, but we also add the component of functional health. So the doctor on staff at our clinic is from your community, and he really understands these elements of it. So we run these labs. We're able to get them mostly covered by TRICARE usually, where we're really looking at that cellular function. We're looking at the metabolism of the cell, how it's using its energy. We're looking at the toxin load, which is huge. One of the big factors, I think, in Chris's recovery was he was mercury toxic. He has a methylation SNP called MTHFR, which means his cells don't detox. We look at that. You guys are exposed to so much in training and overseas. You have to get those toxins out to re-regulate brain function so that you're using your ATP properly, so that your cells are metabolizing properly, so that this methylation, this enzymatic process is telling the cells how to behave properly. So we're doing that too.
And just for a second, I just want to properly introduce, this is Marsha Lessard, which is Chris's wife. She is co-owner at the Brain Treatment Center, working on her second master's degree, medically retired law enforcement. Man. So not only does she know what she's talking about academically, but she lived it as well. And I love that about both of your stories. And I love that you guys do it together. I mean, it's always a cool thing when a husband and a wife can come together for a common goal and purpose.
I tell you what, I'll tell everybody too. It's like, there's no me if she's not around. I mean, that's just fact, man. Like, I would not be in the position if it wasn't for her. Just to be able to function day to day. I probably would have been, done something pretty drastic years ago.
Chris, I don't want to be rude, but I just met you, and I already knew that.
Yeah.
It's just apparent. I don't think you really had to say it.
No.
We already kind of figured that out.
Yeah, no.
She's out there throwing acronyms and words out. I'll have to research later.
Oh, bro, I married up, man. The thing is like, she tells me some stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I don't know what she just said at all.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, she's incredible, absolutely incredible. So.
I wanted to start out getting a foothold into this. Yeah. And then I want to come back later and deep dive it. Cause I love having, you guys, you've proven it already. Like, you are tier 1 when it comes to your profession. Like, you guys clearly have thrown yourself into this. And that's why, I wanted you on the show. Let's talk about your military background for just not just a second. Let's talk about your military background, and that'll get back into how your love and your passion for this came about, and then we'll pick it back up and really, because I got a lot of questions. A lot of questions for you guys on this subject.
Hell, I still have a lot of questions, but we're learning as we go, man. Yeah,
we'll have absolutely questions for her.
Yeah, exactly.
When did you join?
So I joined in February 2000. Started off as an 11 Bravo, airborne down at 509th and Geronimo at Fort Polk, Louisiana, Golden Place-ish.
some people, I signed up after 9/11, and I appreciate the kudos some people give me, and they're like, man, that was real brave of you to sign up after 9/11.
Yeah.
But after a little bit of that, I actually started feeling almost imposter syndrome of some sort, because I know it sounds a little weird when I explain it.
Yeah.
For me to join, it took 3,000 Americans dying in one of the worst terrorist events in the world to happen for me to join. But you joined without that having to happen. So in a weird way, I have a huge amount of respect for guys who joined before 9/11.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't, and this is going to sound so stupid, but like for me, with the childhood that I had, I was a high school dropout. I didn't have a great home life. I needed to get out of there. In fact, I remember going to the recruiter's office and they were like, all right, you can go to Fort Drum, Fort Bragg, or Fort Polk. Those are your 3 options. I was like, well, Fort Polk is the furthest away from Boston. Get me on a plane. So, for me, it wasn't, I had to do something with my life. It wasn't just a matter of like, and serving was just, oh, cool, I can serve on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, my thing. I was actually planning on, doing 4 years or whatever it was, and then being like, all right, skedaddle, go be a cop, or, whatever the thing was. And then 9/11 happened. That's what kind of catapulted me to go to the SF world. And it was kind of just like a weird story. I just happened to be in the platoon office when an SF recruiter called for somebody else, and he wasn't there. And then they were like, well, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah, all right. No idea what I was, talking about. I remember, we were like, all right, meet me here for the PT test. Morning of the PT test, dude. It was like Louisiana hurricane monsoon, like weather. And I just went, and I was the only one. There was supposed to be 8 other people there. I was the only one that showed up. And I'm just sitting there in the rain because I didn't have a car. I was just recently promoted E4. I couldn't afford a car.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there in the rain, and the guy, I see like one car there, and there's a person in it. He ain't coming out. Finally stops the rain. He comes out. He was like, you're Chris. I was like, yeah. He was like, all right, don't worry about it. Just we'll get you started. He's like, show me a PT card and you're good. And I was like, all right, cool, man. But yeah, man, it was funny because, we were in the 509th and 9/11 kicked off. And at the time, 509th was a non-deployable unit.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to do my thing if I stay here. So I went to selection, went to the Q course. That was my quickest way out, I thought. And then halfway through the Q course, those dudes got deployed. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Now, how'd they get deployed if they were non-deployable?
Because
were you able to keep track of what changed?
It was, I can't even remember. I think I was in MOS phase at the time.
Okay.
And then I just heard that they were actually, getting deployed because they just needed people, over there. And I think it was actually, it was right before Iraq was going to kick off. They're like, all right, we're, fighting 2 fronts.
Yeah.
Guess what? You guys are going.
Now you're in it.
Shit. Yeah, I missed my time, but yeah, no, it was good.
Oh, we'll find out here in a second. You didn't miss it, and it definitely matters who you go with.
Facts.
Facts.
Yeah.
So the how's the Q course for you? What MOS? Not everyone always talks about this. What MOS did you want, and what MOS did you get, and if they varied?
So my order went 18 Bravo 1, it was 11 Bravo, right? You want to work weapons. 11 Charlie. I was like, yeah, I'll blow some shit up. And then I was like, I'm sorry, 18 Charlie.
Well, yeah.
18 Delta.
Okay.
Like, all right, I'm gonna go be a medic, and then 18 Echo. And they told me, they were like, yeah, after I got selected, you get 18 Bravo, just, come here. I was like, awesome. And then like a month out, they were like, congratulations, you're an Echo now. Like, all right. It's the same thing with the group thing, right? Like going through the QR.
Right.
What group do you want? I was like, well, 10th, and then 5th, and then 7th. They were like, awesome, you're going to 3rd grade. It's like, why did you ask?
I know that story is so prevalent, and it always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have us fill out those cards. They clearly don't care.
No, they don't give a shit. Just tell me where you want, and then don't give me hope. Like,
just give me hope.
Yeah, just send me wherever you want to go. But yeah, no,
he got 18 Echo.
Got 18 Echo, man. And it was actually a really good course. Like the Echo course was actually really solid.
Which is a Special Forces Communications.
Yeah, Special Forces Communications. So I was like the nerd on the team, messing with radios and stuff like that. I always look at the Echo as like the kicker on an NFL team, man, because you kick a field goal and you're like, yeah, that's your job, asshole. Like, right. But the second you miss it, oh, you're ruined. But yeah, so it was good, man. It was good.
I believe you would have. You still would have done Morse code when you went through the course.
No. So I was the first 18 Echo course that they stopped Morse code.
Lucky you.
Yes, because I hear the horror stories.
I know.
I never did learn Morse code.
You hear horror stories of former 18 Echoes that go through the Morse code course, just stressed out about it, and then not being able to stop doing Morse code and their sleep and their own time because all they've studied for months is trying to pass this course. Listen to beeps.
Just stressing.
Yep. Yeah. What did they? I'd imagine it was the same thing. I went too far behind you. What they replace it with?
So I honestly don't know what they replaced it with. I know we spent a lot more time on the trigraph thing, all that stuff.
Stupid.
Yeah. Exactly.
They replaced it with a network, a computer network.
A+. They did all that A+ computer stuff. That's right. The first 2 weeks, it was all computer stuff.
You want to know what's funny? I always told everyone I'm a radio echo. I'm not a computer echo.
No.
And I was good at radios, and I was not good at computers.
Yep.
And our 18 Delta had gone to college for like computer engineering or network engineering or something like that, and he managed all of our computer network systems.
That's a great thing about being on a team, though, man. Like, hey, you got the skills. Get over here, right?
Yeah, man. So you so what language did you get?
I got French.
Yeah.
Going to Afrique, so.
That's right. So third group is still covering down on Africa at that time. You got French because there's so many, former French colonies that still speak French there. Did you get to use French a lot when you went to Africa?
No.
Yeah.
A little bit. I don't want to say no completely, just a little bit, but we always had interpreters with us. Yeah. So it was kind of like, it kind of defeated the whole use of it. And, language is one of those things. You don't use it, it's gone, dude.
Absolutely.
She says I used to speak it pretty good when we first met, but I'm like, man, I don't remember it. The kids, they took like, I don't know, a month and a half of French and they speak it better than I do now,
Yeah, it is a perishable skill to say the
huge.
least. Yeah.
And it's a good skill to have. We always talk about we need to learn like a good language so we can talk about people and no one else can really understand us.
Yeah.
We never do, but the kids do it.
Well, he's also, he's only third generation American on both sides of his family, and his dad is French. His dad speaks French.
Oh, really?
In the house. Yeah. We had to change our daughter's name. We changed it from Viviane to Viviana so he would enunciate it better, right? Because he's got this Boston French twang.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
So when you showed up the third group, what was your first ODA? What was its specialty?
Oh, man. So my first day at third group, went into 3rd Battalion ACO. First day meeting with the sergeant major. He was like, hey, can you swim? I was like, it's a weird question. I did the swim test in the Q course.
Right.
Yeah, I can swim. He was like, all right, cool. We're linking you up with the scuba team. And I was like,
right.
All right, cool, man. And dude, the next day they had me it was one of the gym, the indoor pool there at the end of our dens. Indoor pool. I was at the deep end. They were like, all right, we're going to tie your hands behind your back. We're going to tie your feet together. And we're going to throw you in the deep end. It's called drown proof. And I was like, no, it's called attempted murder. You probably shouldn't be doing it out in public like this. Take me to Mott Lake or something, man. Bro, I was that guy who, if I went 10 foot underwater, I would panic, man.
Yeah.
And they were like, the guys there on the team were great, man. Yeah. I still look up to them, man. They're all older at the time. I was like, 22 maybe. And they were all in their mid 30s. And we still talk to this day. Great dudes. And they were like, hey, we want to keep you on the team, but you gotta get your shit together.
Yeah.
And they did their part, right? They took me to the pool and, when they could, but it's an ODA. People are busy all the time. So a lot of it was on me to just, hey, dude, get to the pool and just do your thing and just torture yourself. And then, I eventually went to Key West, which was, it was the first all Army dive course. It was like 2005 time frame. So it was like 2 weeks in the pool, which was...
Are you kidding me? You went to the first all-Army dive course?
First all-Army dive course. Yeah.
In 05?
05. Right before Katrina and Rita rolled in.
Did you not graduate? Did you not go to... Did you go to Orlando to do your graduating ceremony?
We did the last 3 days.
Do you know how I know that?
Were you there?
I was in your dive school.
Get out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I was in your dive school.
No shit?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. How do we not know this?
It's a stressful environment.
It's crazy.
Yes, man. Sularoo
was the class.
That dude was a fish, man. That dude was a torpedo.
Out of here.
Yeah, man.
We'll have some stories.
Yeah.
About that. I mean, it's not that uncommon. Well, it kind of is. I'm not surprised. I don't know everyone. I mean, I'm sure we did at the time. I wouldn't know who you are at the time.
Exactly. We're talking, dude, it's 21 years ago.
21 years later, I don't remember everyone in the course, but yeah, we went to the same dive school together.
Dude, that was intense, that one, man.
That is hilarious.
I remember the 3K swim. They were like, well, no one passed because a hurricane was, on its way. And they were like, we'll just have you do it again. Like,
remember they were always saying, tides and currents do not affect the combat diver. And then we all failed it because the tides and the currents were coming out so bad because of the hurricane.
See where you were going.
Yeah.
The waves are so high.
And we're like, I guess tides and currents does affect the combat diver. They're like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Well, we all failed.
Shut your mouth. Yeah. Like, oh, all right. Sue, man. I think he almost passed, but and when that dude didn't make it, I was new. Like,
right. Yeah.
No.
He was swimmer number 1 in the class.
Yeah.
Because he was an Olympic swimmer.
Yes.
He was older at the time. He was like, he might have been 40.
I think he was pushing 40 at
38, something like that. He was older.
Former French Foreign Legion dude.
Former French Foreign Legion.
Yeah, man.
He was supposed to go to the Summer Olympics. I want to say all the way back in 80 or 84, but they canceled the Olympics and he was so mad he joined the army.
Represents his personality. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, man. No, that's crazy. Yeah. So,
I'm aware of that part of your life.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. You were there. You remember the bus trip up there?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the bus trip. They were like, all right, we're going to stop. You can get a couple beers for the drive because it's probably going to, dude. And people were coming on with like cases.
Yeah, I do. I remember it.
That was a mistake.
I'm from Orlando. So when they until we were going to graduate Orlando, I was like, well, you're perfect.
Right.
Awesome. I'll have a friend come pick me up from the graduation ceremony because I was a 20th group at the time.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's too funny. That's too funny.
Gosh. Oh, so what'd you do after we graduated dive school?
So at that point I was, with the dive team. We had gone to Afghanistan prior to that. Then we went to Afghanistan again after that. And then
where'd you go? Where'd you go in Afghanistan?
We were at Skin.
Okay.
Yeah, Firebase Skin. Which was, it was like the Wild West out there. It was for action, it was a pretty solid spot. But yeah, man. And then I think, my goodness, a couple years after that, I finished my time up at third group, which I still kind of regret at times. I feel like, I probably should have stayed in, but I went into the Guard from there, and that was a good experience too. So
when you went to the Guard, would you go to the same state? Were you serving in the same state that you were living? Does that make sense?
Kind of. Yeah. Okay. So dude, the whole Guard thing was like, I went back and forth because we moved up and down the whole East Coast, whether jobs, because I was going through my stuff. So I was job hopping a lot, family stuff with our son, things of that nature. So I originally started off probably year and a half at 20th group in Massachusetts.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when we met.
That's when
I bought him on the internet.
She bought me on the internet.
Yeah. I was
desperate for cash, man. No.
I was medically retiring from law enforcement. I didn't want to date any cops. So I did a match profile and he was on there, and I was actually going on to cancel my match profile, and he drove down from Boston for our first date, and then I couldn't get rid of him.
Yeah. Love it. That's when I was getting a job with state as a contractor in Northern Virginia. So yeah, it wasn't up in New Hampshire, Massachusetts very long at all. So
I'd imagine, especially in 20th group where I was at, we're out of Florida. So we our dive team had a very heavy emphasis on like, you're going to the dive team and you will be dive qualified. And we had a green dive team the whole time I was there.
So I'll tell you what, I was actually in Ocala for a year because we came down here for
ADOS.
ADOS orders.
Okay.
On the CARE Coalition. So I had switched for about another year and a half ish to be in 20th group in Ocala there. So, and I was on the dive team there.
Okay.
So yeah, some of the guys out there.
At A320?
Yes. Dude, and I tell you what, I would put that team up against a lot of active duty.
Who was your team sergeant at the time?
Rick Spear.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Gotta get out of here.
Yeah. I mean,
that was my dive team that I left.
Yeah. I was there for a small snippet, but I was there for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Dude, that team was stacked.
Yeah. They were. Yeah. I mean, they took a big hit when I left, but
that went downhill from there. Just saying.
But I assure you, Rick held it together.
Yeah, no, Rick was an awesome dude.
Leave some last names off because some of the jobs they still do. I'm sure Jason was still around.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people in the world. The team sergeant before him, he would have either still been company sergeant major, may have been up to battalion. Sean Keene's been on the show.
He was there. We did dive recalls with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. Dude, he's not your typical sergeant major.
It's not your
at
typical
all.
sergeant major.
But probably one of the best smedges that I've ever worked with.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Absolutely.
So why would you, So I was a cephalic instructor for 20th Group for a little bit, and it was great because you get to see a bunch of different companies come through.
Yeah.
So if you own, the only thing I ever knew was A320, and to me that was just the standard, because I didn't know anything else. And when I saw other companies come through, I'm not saying they were bad, but I'm definitely saying A320 was something special at that time.
No, I agree.
And So why would you ever leave it?
So at that point, we went up north because I made and it probably wasn't the best decision, but go ahead. Yeah, I can see you want to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we were down there, our son at 2 regressed into nonverbal autism overnight.
Yeah.
Really high functioning kid, talking, doing all the things. And then he was gone, rocking in a corner. So we thought, Chris and I both come from similar backgrounds. I think it's pretty amazing that a kid from like the projects wound up on a dive team because I'm from the hood too. We don't swim. Nobody taught us that. Right. So we thought if we moved up to New England where he was from, we'd have just more support. There'd be more resources. And let me tell you, where we moved, there was nothing that TRICARE covered. And that's how this story with this clinic really starts. So I was driving 2 hours each way just for really poor speech therapy for him. I started getting certified in all these different therapies. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Nobody's going to do this for my kid like I would.
For
sure. And then Task Force Dagger reached out. They didn't pay for everything. They supported us through it. And they said, hey, just go try this therapy. And we flew out there. And part of the thing is morning sunlight. Like we talked about hormones a little bit. Morning sunlight, 30 minutes of it every day, resets your circadian rhythm, but it also helps reset your cortisol. So I'd run with him on the beach every morning. Yeah. We do 2 miles from Balboa Pier area. And one day I went to pull him out of the stroller. We were about 4 weeks into it. He was a super responder, so I don't want to give anybody false hope. Yeah. He was a super responder because our diet was clean. Like I was neurotic about it. We did not eat additives. We straight paleo diet, all grass-fed organic. And I think that really helped him like be ready for this. So 3-4 weeks into the treatment, I'm running with him on the beach. He's real fussy. I pull him out of the stroller. He hadn't said a word to me in over 2 years. I pull him out of the stroller and I say, hey buddy, you're so fussy today. And he looked me right in the eyes and he goes, I was busy today. And I said, say it again. And I started recording. He said it again. And, we did all the things that we're doing. So that's where that kind of started. We flew back to New England. We stayed out there for 6 months for that MERT therapy. We came back to New England, and I'm not a high demand wife, I don't think. But I looked at Chris and I was like, you got to get me out of here. I cannot stay here anymore. And he ended up getting an offer in Northern Virginia from another friend that he knew from another group. Yeah. But part of the reason why I think we cycled around so much is the TBI was really active. We didn't really know what was happening with that. And it was like shiny ball. Anywhere there's a shiny ball, anywhere you can be a super cool guy.
All those years, the dark years.
Yeah.
There were some good times.
There was a lot of good times, but there was a lot of bad. But
and we'll get into those in a second. When you were at 19th, and I'm sure you did some with 3rd as well. Let's talk about JCETs for a second. Because we talk about combat deployments all the time. They are fun to talk about. Yeah. But this is what the SF is back to doing, and this is their bread and butter in non-combat times. So tell everyone what it stands for, what it is.
All right, so JCET's a joint combined exchange training. So basically, SF teams will go into these countries that don't have, there's not a lot of, there might be some conflict going on, but it's not a war zone or anything like that. And what it's exchange training, but it's really for, the SF teams to kind of train up some of the the host nation military forces, special operations, things of that nature. It's not a 6-month thing. It might be a month or two. But yeah, it, like you said, it's the bread and butter for SF, I think, right? That's kind of what we do is, go to these places, win hearts and minds, and kind of train them to, do their thing. But they're fun, man. They're a great time.
And the idea behind them is that, hey, if we can go to these countries that, we'll take South America, for example, because it's an easy one.
Yep.
And if we can train them to combat the drug lords and combat them to identify terrorism and keep terrorism out, then we won't have to. We can prevent it from being a problem, and we won't have to do it ourselves necessarily.
Yeah, you're at that point, as an SF team, you are a force multiplier, right? You go in, so like you said, we don't have to send, because a lot of these countries can blow up to be really bad spots, and now we're sending a lot of units over there, spending more money, losing more people, things of that nature. The hope is, hey, if we train these people up, they can take care of themselves, and we're only sending 8 to 12 dudes in there.
Yep,
and way more.
And they can be very mundane, but there's been plenty of crazy stories that come out from JCETs as well. You never know what's going to happen when you're out there in the Wild West.
No, you really don't, man. So just the few on the top of my head, going to Ethiopia was a basic JCET, but then the next one I went to was in Mali, and for that one they were like, no, you need to take gun trucks there, and you need to go packed, because AQIM is still in the area. We're like, all right, well, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then the next one they were like, no, you can't take anything. It's just 5 of you, and you have to be in civilian clothes the whole time. And it's like completely different than the last 2 I was on, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends. It's really different each time.
And it is a cool aspect that really only SF does.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part.
Right.
So, when it's great. There's a bunch of other cool units when it comes to combat. And that is true.
Yep.
Love the Rangers, love the SEALs, love Raiders. Like, the good guys are in those units.
Yep.
But guess what? When there's not a war, they're not doing anything. And SF is still going to exotic places, meeting exotic people, and doing exotic things.
Yeah, exotic is kind of, it depends. I remember I can't remember.
But Ethiopia felt a little exotic.
It was exotic, all right. And if you know,
spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nice exotic. There's poor exotic.
Very poor exotic. So I can't remember where we were supposed to go, but I was with 19th Group at the time. And it was like in the islands somewhere for a JCET. And we were like, this is awesome. It got canceled for whatever reason. I don't remember why.
It was nice.
Yeah, it's too nice, right? We can't send you guys there. Someone figured it out, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, what do we want to do? We're on orders right now. So we did this like, hey, we're going to do mountain warfare training. We were going to go skiing,
Right.
Had it approved. And then they were like, hey, good news, you're going to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is not nice, fancy islands at all. Yeah, and I was like, hey, you can't take anything, it's just got to be you in civilian. We're like, I don't know how I feel about this, man, but we did. And that's a great thing about SF, man. You get to do some door kicking stuff. You get to do some 7-8 stuff.
Yeah.
You get to, ride around in trucks and look for fights, but then you get to do stuff like that as well. So you get a lot of different experiences. For sure, jack of all trades, master of none. And it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does, create a different breed of operator, and I believe it shows in the end product, and no organization is perfect, but at SF we don't. I'm still proud to be a Green Beret, and thankfully the generation after me and hopefully the generation after them will uphold that standard as well, and I believe they will, and continue to make it easy for me to be a proud Green Beret.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of the young guys now, they're still out there getting after it. They're still doing really good stuff. So I hear they're having a little hard time filling the ranks now, which kind of sucks because, you hate to see that. But at the same time, the guys that are there, they're still doing it, man. It's good.
Here's the silver lining of that, and it's maybe just me trying to find a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
If they're having a hard time filling the ranks, maybe that means they're upholding the standard, because because it's real easy to fill the ranks when you're not upholding the standard.
Yep. Well, I remember when I left third group, just talking to some of the guys after I left, like a few years after, they were getting a lot of and that's when they were standing up 4th Battalion, stuff like that. And they were getting some guys in, sending them to the dive team, like, dude couldn't pass a PT test. So, they were trying to flood the ranks at that point. It's like, that's a problem.
Right.
So I don't know. Hopefully you're right, man. Hopefully that's the case. They're being, hey, we got the time now. Let's reset. Let's actually enforce the standards, and let's get some good people in here again.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the culture of the military is changing back to a little bit more of an old school mentality of a results oriented. Who cares about wokeism and diversity? This is the defense of our country. Let's just get the best people in there. Let's have a standard worth upholding, and let's uphold it.
Hegseth, man.
And you can hate Hegseth all you want, and to some degree, I get it.
Yep.
But let me tell you, you can hate his background all you want. You can kind of hate the way he goes about things all you want. But what he's doing is right.
Yep.
And one of my biggest pushbacks is like, well, he was a National Guard retired major, I think he was.
Okay.
Like he has no background, to be doing this. Well, then you tell me why it took a National Guard major to come in here and set the record straight on standards and push out all that BS.
Right.
When a retired 4-star has been filling this position time in and time out, and they've been dropping the ball.
Right.
So what does that say about our 4-stars?
Exactly. And I'd love what he's doing.
I do.
I really do. I was sold on him because I didn't know really much about him when he first, was announced in that position. I was kind of like, all right, maybe. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he went in and called all those generals fat, I was like, sold. Sold. Get him.
I have to stay on the subject for a little bit because I love it so much.
Yeah.
And like, who does he think he is to call in generals and lecture them? Well, my first answer to you is their boss.
Right. That's who he is now.
Let me tell you, those generals will call in anyone below them that they want and lecture them if they so desire. And that's how the military works. And no one's gonna bitch and moan about it.
Right.
So guess what? When your boss does it, you are still in the military too.
Exactly.
And the same thing about calling out fat generals. Don't be fat.
That's it.
He would have never called out any fat generals if you guys didn't police up yourselves,
right?
Or we didn't have fat generals. So again, they hate the messenger, but his message is right.
Do you think part of that is they see themselves in some of those generals? So a lot of those people are like, oh, you can't,
No, this is what I believe it is, and I truly hate it. Like this is how divided and biased we are as a country.
Mm-hmm.
No one can separate right from wrong. No one can kind of separate logical from illogical. They only see things through two lenses, red and blue.
Yep.
And Hegseth is red. And so I hate everything he does.
Regardless, because
regardless of what he does.
Doesn't fit my narrative, so I can't agree with. Yeah, no,
that's true.
100%.
Border security should be bipartisan position. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone in America should and does to some degree want a secure border. But that's how brainwashed we are. Oh, my leader for my side says this about border security. That's also what I believe.
Right.
It's
I just have to.
Can I say something about that?
Wish you would.
Yeah. So in law enforcement, I was medically retired in 2000. When was it? 2009, 2010. But before that, we were right on the DC line. And coming from that area, from that socioeconomic status, I do see how different people arrive at this is the way it should be. We should be compassionate and we need to be secure. I can see both sides of it, but I don't think that people's broad opinions outweigh lived experiences. So I can remember and a lot of people just say people are, all they're hearing is people are coming here because they want a better chance. Who's going to say no to that? But they're not understanding the mechanisms in which they come here. So probably one of my last years on, I remember driving down this main road. We had a metro there, and that's important. And I'm driving down the main road and I look over and there's a little girl running down the street naked, half naked from the waist down. And I pull her in my cruiser. My sister-in-law is from El Salvador. I call her. Spoke pretty fluent Spanish at the time, but this is bigger. Like, I need this. This little girl had scaled out of a second-story window. She had been kidnapped from her village by the cartels. She was now cartel property. She'd been muled across, and she had been held in that apartment for, she estimated, about 2 years. And over 30 guys a day at some days would come through off the metro. So you got to call ICE. She wants to go home to her mom. ICE comes in and they say, oh, she's cartel property. We're going to take her home, but they're going to mark her. They're just going to snatch her up again now. People don't understand that human dynamic because that's not being put out. And for a different perspective on that, probably about a week or two later, I used to eat on the food trucks all the time. It's the best food, right? So I go down and I get food from the food truck, and it's these two mamas down there. They're older, they're like my age now, right?
Yeah.
And they had to have been watching from the wood line because I get my food, I drive away. As I'm driving, I see a plume. They hadn't paid their cartel tax. So when you come over with the cartels, you typically owe a corporate tax for the rest of your life. I mean, that's the way it worked back then.
Okay.
They hadn't paid it. So the cartel, probably via MS-13, because there's some, some overlap there, just threw a Molotov cocktail right through the window of the food truck.
Really?
Right. So people don't understand these dynamics. And I think that's why, we need to be salt and light. We got to shine light on the truth. You put the truth out there and people need to see that, because who on the left wouldn't be sympathetic to a little girl, 14 years old, held in an apartment for 2 years, right? And you say, these other people want a chance. There's a way that we can do this balanced without letting the wolves in.
That narrative is something that has to be debunked as well to some degree.
Yep.
Like, well, they're coming over here for a better chance. Well, of course, but just that doesn't give you the right say I need it for a better chance. That mentality and that logic wouldn't work anywhere else.
Right.
Do you guys have kids? How about you just go force your kids into an upper private school and be like, I want my kids to be in here. I'm going to come in here illegally and drop my kids off here, and I'm going to expect you to take care of them for a better chance.
Could you imagine if I just broke into your house and like, well, it's raining outside, I need a better area to sleep? Like, no,
right.
You can't.
At no point is it okay to break into another place just for a better life.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. But
and I think you pointed out too, like there's ways to do it. I'm all for if someone needs a better life, if they do it the right way, but please come here. That's what we were built on.
Yeah. But
again, the right way.
And I'm a broken record when I keep saying this, but your story is absolutely right. Who wouldn't side with that? But they have to hear the story. And if our news won't start telling more balanced stories, then we'll never get to that point.
When ICE came to pick her up, I'm from that area. They used to joke with me, you're the hug-a-thug, stuff like that. Like my second shift, my cousin was in a police chase. He was the one being chased. Right? I'm from that area. So by the time they had come down from Baltimore to kind of pick this little girl up and figure out how they're going to get her back to her mom, because that's all she wanted to do was go home, I had everything. I had talked to the kids in the area. I knew who was in that apartment. I knew, I'm going to give all this to ICE. They're going to be able to shut this down, because I had no idea how big the problem was back then, 20 years ago. And when the girl came in, she had a Hopkins sweatshirt on. I went to Hopkins. I'm like, hey, I have all the information for you. I'm young. I feel like my sense of, I'm feeling immortal. Like I want to go get everybody. And my whole goal was to eventually be a federal agent, be DEA, before I medically retired. And she looked at me and she's like, I don't want to laugh at you, but like, they'll kill you. They'll kill your family. She said right now, this is 20 years ago, this little girl is a grain of sand in the entire beach of children that are being brought across for this. And she said, and they know that you're down there. They know that you've already looked into this. They've already packed that up and moved on. Right. Oh. And I was just back then just blown away at the enormity of this and the moral weight of it. Yeah. Right. And so what do you do then? You just have to be more open about it. And that's why, for me, I tend to be kind of a black and white thinker. Now seeing all this and seeing what's happened in the country, having daughters, being a woman, it's just incomprehensible to me that we're not listening to these stories, that this isn't the headline of what is going on, right?
It made me think for a second when you're telling that story, and if they're coming in here for a better life, if you do it the wrong way and you have to live in the shadows because you came here illegally. I don't think she was living a better life.
Right.
Well,
you know,
also,
like there's
sorry.
No. Go ahead. You're right.
You also think, having come from an area that's kind of shady, you've been brought up around shady stuff. We've all done things that we regret in our lives. You live with the weight of knowing at some point the check comes due.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Facts.
Well, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
So you medically retired.
Yeah.
Why did you medically retire? But before you get to why you medically retired, let's get back to some of the signs and symptoms that led up to a medical retirement.
Yeah. So, like I said before, those years they would call them the dark years. So I knew I had something going on, but I was very proud. Pride gets us. And I didn't want to really come to, terms with that. So I would do a lot of self-medicating with either, alcohol, painkiller. I mean, alcohol and painkillers was it for me. Like, I don't think maybe, during that 6-7 years, maybe 10% of the time I was on neither, but I was probably under the influence of alcohol, or at least taking a painkiller in the morning, probably most days.
He had a pretty significant injury, though. He rolled off a mountain on an ATV in Afghanistan. Pretty significant back injury.
Okay.
And back then, we're still kind of in that window where they're just throwing Percocet at everything, you know, and that's what they did.
Well,
Here's some Percocet.
At the time of that injury, I was still at Skin, right? And, me, I didn't know any better. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Let's do our thing. So I didn't take care of it properly at all. I think a few days later, I was up in the gun truck, like, yeah, sure, let's go. Just time wear and tear. And that's when, and there was other, minor concussions, on jumps, stuff like that, all that stuff, combatives training, all the stupid shit that we do. So it just, accumulated over time. So, I started noticing a lot of stuff with me that wasn't right. Right. Plus, when you throw in, other trauma that we go through in the military, in training, overseas, childhood stuff. Cause like we talked about, they look for us, specifically. I think, who was it? Jeff
Dardia.
Jeff Dardia goes over it a lot at Task Force Day. I think
we were in the Q course together.
Okay. Yeah. Jeff's a great dude.
Yeah.
But he talks about it a lot. Like, hey, there's a lot of dudes, and you don't talk about that in the team room, with childhood trauma. You're never going to talk about, like this happened to me back then. You just don't talk about it. But once you get in a healing environment and you actually start opening up, you find out, oh shit, that happened to you. Like I dealt with that with my parents, or I dealt with that as a kid. And you're like, it's finding out it's across the board. So you start to accumulate all this stuff. So I was doing a lot of self-medicating and doing a lot of stupid shit that I shouldn't have been doing. And really, hurting the people, that mean or should mean most in that time. And she did, but I didn't know how to stop. It was kind of like the gas was on, the pedal was pushed to the floor and the brakes were just broke.
I've said this recently, but it bears saying again. I have a very simplistic approach to this, and I understand that people also deal with things different. So what works for me may not work for someone else.
Absolutely.
But there are general truths as well. I also think some people like to make it more complicated than it really is, to make it seem like it's a bigger problem that needs more resources, more time, or to make themselves feel better, the person feel better, like, well, I never got better, because it's really complicated. Right. So with that preface, my simple outlook to most of this is that it is simple. It is, I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt for a second, easy, somewhat easy.
Yep.
But it's almost on a spectrum. The sooner you stop it, and you have to stop it, the easier it is. And that's when it's easy. Or not, people aren't going to like the word easy, but I'm not.
But in a way,
manageable.
it is.
Manageable. Is that the word that someone wants to hear?
Yeah, it's a nice way of saying it.
Right, and it is, and everyone early on is capable of making
100%.
But just because you didn't make it, that doesn't. I'm not, judging you on that.
Yeah.
But why that's so important is because I think, now I know, because I lived it, and I got told deployment after deployment, you have PTSD. You can't handle this. You're going to see something so bad that you can't handle. Why would you tell grown men that there's something they can't handle? Because if you tell someone long enough they can't handle something,
in your head.
As soon as something happens, you're like, well, I can't handle this. I just don't like that. I think that, like a lot of things, I think the pendulum swung too far.
Yep.
But to go to your point, once you've made this bad decision long enough, I hate not being I hate relinquishing personal responsibility.
Yeah.
But I get it. You do the wrong thing long enough. I don't ever want to say it's impossible, but I'll say it's really, really, really hard to dig out at that point.
It's really hard because it all accumulates, right? But to your point, you are still accountable. I don't care if, as many concussions or bad stuff or anything, medications I was on, whatever, mixing and matching, I was still ultimately accountable for all of it. And I think that's a huge step. That's the first part right there, is to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm messing up. I'm messing up really bad. Go ahead.
And from a spouse perspective, even when he was in the Guard, he was gone all the time. He was working for State Department and all these things like that. We averaged it out. And I'm a pretty independent person, and I've been madly in love with him since the first day I met him. So it was easy. But we averaged it out, and he was gone maybe 9 to 10 months out of the year for almost the first 10 months of our marriage, and like
10 years.
Part of so I medically retired on PTSD, right? Had my face smashed up pretty good, had all that redone. It's pretty good. And for me, it was very easy because you guys are selected because you're highly capable of compartmentalizing, right? So it's bad that they're seeding your compartments with you can't handle this. That's a psychological thing, right? But you guys you're selected because you're basically superhumans. You're able to put some really bad shit in boxes and just carry on mission forward, right? And so on some level, not at the same level, was able to do some of that. So when my law enforcement career ended, I was able to throw all in on I'm just going to be his wife and we're going to have a bunch of babies. We're going to do this. Like we're going American dream here. Yeah. And that's how I kind of self-isolated because I was just having kids, right?
Right.
But for me, when he was home, he was on it. He was the perfect husband. I never had big indicators unless he was home for too long. And then it was like, hey, like we probably need to look into something, because I knew he was top performing in everything. He was still getting awards. He's getting these high level jobs, but too long, you'd start to see the roller coaster start to go, And that was the big first indicator for me.
Yeah. And it's kind of, and is it kind of one of those things with you? It's kind of easy to fake it for a little bit.
For a little bit, you can, right?
I mean, kind of what she's alluding to. If it's in and out, we can continue to pretend like everything's fine.
Literally trained to win hearts and minds. Win hearts and minds for some of those people.
Right.
We're literally trained to do that.
But you can only fake it for so long.
Exactly, man. And and to your point too, and I just got to bring this up. They did, like, I remember talking to you about it. Like, they're pushing this PTSD thing like a little too much. Every guy I talk to, I don't think a lot of them. It's not the overseas stuff that, but like, oh, you're going to see this stuff and it's going to be, guys don't have PTSD over that. It's the stuff that they deal with at home during training, not feeling like they meet the standard or whatever, like having imposter syndrome, like we talked about. I think that's the stuff over time, that chronic stress that like really starts to, it's not the stuff overseas. I guarantee I ask any one of my old teammates if they'd go back over, they wouldn't a heartbeat. Yeah. Right? You can't physically do it anymore. Some of them are, pushing 60 now. I don't probably want them over there, but yeah, man, it's like, I remember when they were really, really pushing that. They were trying to push this like victim mentality on us.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually the right word, a victim mentality. And again, I have to put in all these caveats. One, to properly convey my message, but and I'm not saying that, and I don't think it's what you're saying either.
Yeah,
some guys did have some really bad days,
absolutely,
and some guys it is about combat.
Yep.
But after being in the system and going through the system and being spit out by the system, you see the amount, you see it holistically, and you're like, this is broken. And I've said it before. It's not that I don't believe in PTSD. I absolutely do. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
There's There are people that will break at some
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
But my problem is this, because I know that will happen, our resources are finite. So when you have a bunch of imposters, true imposters, either truly imposters or they are broken because you told them they were weak and they believed you.
Right.
When we have all these people that shouldn't be clogging up the system, that shouldn't be stealing all these resources, we are now stealing resources from guys who really have it. Because the guys who really had it, who really had a bad day, who really had to carry pieces of their their brothers onto helicopters, I want that guy to have all the resources in the world.
Yes.
And if he doesn't, it's because people are stealing it from him.
But also, even with that, they're still whole people, right? They're not irrevocably broken. And it's very emasculating, these terms that we've been using for like our best warriors and our nation to say, like, you have this diagnosis, so this means like you're done, you're checked out. A lot of this PTSD, PTS, a lot of the core root of it is nervous system dysregulation. And if we can get your nervous system re-regulated, you can be fully functioning for the most part. Again, we talk a lot in our clinic, especially with our doc who has similar background to ours, about resiliency. And a lot of us who are good compartmentalizers, who grew up in these kind of rough environments, our cups aren't overflowing. They built our resiliency, right? So we're highly resilient people, which means we're able, when the resources are available, to use them adequately for full recovery or to get there. But having a diagnosis like PTSD, and now the big one is they want to just diagnose mood disorders and schizoaffective. You come in with any type of thing, mood disorder, schizoaffective, instead of like looking deep and going, oh wait, you got whacked in the head, right?
Yeah.
And these are treatable things. These are new sets of skills that you can learn to re-regulate and rework your brain function.
So I have two questions. One is, outside of people answering questions, sort of whether you want to call operator syndrome, when it's like those, how can we scientifically detect TBIs, micro tears within the brain? Can we scientifically say, I've seen your brain, you have it?
Well, we do EEG. So we're looking at the electrical activity in the brain. And it's not diagnostic, but there is a pattern that we typically see with TBI. There's a pattern that we see with PTSD. And over time, PTSD starts to look like TBI.
Yeah.
So I like to go down into the root causes of this, right? Like on a cellular level and symptom wise, right? Because I can't say, I'm not a scientist in that realm. I can't say that we have exactly this. You're going to get your head scanned and then we're going to know that you have TBI. But do you have this symptom cluster? When we're talking about operator syndrome, right? It's a cascade of symptoms. Sometimes it starts with the concussive injury. Sometimes it starts with the initial trauma. But what we're really boiling that down to on the medical side of it is the cell danger response. Your cells are literally freaking out. Like, we cannot regulate. We're super inflamed. We're carrying too much toxins. And there's a cascade of effect after that. And that's what we're seeing in operator syndrome. And the bigger part of that is that we're not treating the root causes. We're not treating the toxin exposure. We're not making sure the methylation is right, which is basically an enzymatic process that tells your cells how to behave and detox and express your genetics. And then we're not addressing the basic metabolic functions. If your metabolics is off, kind of how your cell creates energy, and then the ATP is, the energy currency. If all of that is off, your neurotransmitters, all your happy chemicals are going to be really off. Your gut's going to be off. If you're exposed a lot overseas, if you have certain RF exposures, your gut is off. It doesn't cause TBI, but it changes kind of the functions. If those root causes aren't addressed, you're going to feel like a mess. You're going to feel like all the operator syndrome times 10. But if you get to those root causes, you address the functional imbalances, you're in a much better place where you can use your inherent resiliency.
And I think that's kind of the issue, right? Is everyone gets that blanket saying, oh, you're PTSD, but it might not actually be some PTSD. I mean, it might be some, but it might be a lot of those vector-borne illnesses we talked about, those toxic metals. How many times have you got your brain whacked or your hormones out of balance? You talked about the TRT, So all that stuff can, present similar symptoms to PTSD. The fear is that we start labeling people this stuff. They start to believe that's their identity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major, major problem.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan because as you'll know, the military and officers love to just change a term.
Yeah,
and we didn't For
You
what?
didn't do
Yes.
anything.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. We just changed the term, and now it's new. But
Yeah,
it's
cool.
just-
Yeah.
There's an exception to that, and to me, and I do like referring to it as PTSI, post traumatic stress injury.
Yeah.
Because a disorder basically makes it sound like, hey, if you have a disorder, you have that for the rest of your life. And a disorder, it doesn't get better.
Right.
In fact, it might even get worse.
Right.
But that's what you have. And I believe, like any injury, is its worst roughly at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it should get better. Now, like an injury, there are some injuries that just aren't going to get better without medicine or without treatment, whether it be physical therapy. There are things that require an injury to get better, but it's an injury. It should get better with time, and properly diagnosed will get better with time. It's just, and again, I will get off my soapbox and doesn't mean like who I am is how everyone should be, but I just can't imagine, go through it here, but thinking like, my worst day that I had in combat, that I'm going to be 70 years old, still walking around every day thinking about that worst day. What a horrible life.
Right.
Like I refuse to believe that that's how it has to be. And so I make sure that's not how it has to be. I do what they tell me not to do. I put it in a little box and I put it back there. And
that's a superpower, though.
It is a superpower. Yeah,
I know, and I do, and I get that. And a little bit to your point, I forgot to make it, but I'm glad you said that. A lot of the things that I have to say really have to do with guys within special operations.
Yeah,
because that's the litmus test that I'm judging.
That's our standard.
I know you're capable of that because you did this job, and it's not because I think I'm so great. I actually think I'm not that great, and if I can do it, I know you can do it,
bro. That's how we all.
Like,
no, I'm a piece of shit, man. Like, hey, if I can do it, you can absolutely.
But that's a good point, and that's I think I forget sometimes like to explain it properly, and now it's on the internet forever. And you're like, hey, well, that's you, and you guys were specially selected, and that is absolutely correct.
And I think that there's an element of this, like general. I think PTSD, PTSI, it's all very real. It can be cumulative, much like a TBI, but there's an element of telling people this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. There's a methylation SNP called CompT. It's really interesting to me because it's about how your brain processes dopamine. And almost all the SF guys that come through have a CompT SNP. It's literally called the warrior SNP, right? So they process dopamine at much higher levels than other people do. We can't say this is wrong that you have that SNP. God created you guys that way because we need people like you, right? You have these cumulative stresses that start in childhood and they build up, and they don't necessarily mean you're falling apart. At some point, it means you just feel numb. And then much like grief, you learn to just kind of live around those things instead of addressing them. And then back to your point, if you get to the point where you address them, then it puts them in the proper compartments so that if you do have a drink or like you're getting into a relationship and you get into your first big fight or something, those compartments don't come exploding, right? You just have to address the appropriate things in the compartments and then put them back where they belong because it's cumulative.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's an injury. You just have to take the time to address it. It is worse in the beginning. It can get kind of bad when you start unpacking those bags.
I think if you treat an injury, it's like a broken leg, right? If you treat it and like, all right, I'm going to rest on it for maybe a week and then I'm going to go for a run. It's not going to get better. The same thing with this is if I, have that injury and I'm like, all right, and then I'm going to just drink myself to sleep every night. That's not necessarily going to help it. But like you said, it's all depends on how you treat that injury. And it's not your identity forever.
So I know I understand the answer to this is based off of, depends on the person.
Yeah.
But if it's possible, if you could give me just the most common occurrence, if you will, the most general answer to this, if we'll keep it within your special operations or military background, person comes into the brain treatment center there in Nova. You guys have 2 locations, correct?
Yep.
Where they at?
Ashburn and Alexandria, Virginia.
How does the assessment start, and what is the assessment what does it entail?
So
we're a
go ahead.
buffet.
What's that?
We're a buffet. You can pick what you want.
I mean,
Most people come in for, TMS and then would like to move it to the more highly personalized MERT therapy because it does help address functionally what's going on. Raw data comes in back here. It's carried on the alpha wave. It's interpreted up here. If that gets kind of slow and wonky, you can imagine that the interpretation is going to be difficult. I think it's great to show people the data on their bodies, right?
Yeah.
So we always do the EEG, like, hey, this is how your brain is performing. This is kind of like where we'd like it to be at. This would be optimal function. This is how we'll get you there. And we'll fine tune it every 2 weeks with Wave and see if we can get you there. And then we always offer the functional labs because we're looking at your cellular function and we're looking at your gut health.
Yeah.
All of that is absolutely essential to good brain health. I post a lot about it on our Instagram, but we talk a lot about mental health and, just throwing things under a diagnosis. But your mental health is going to be askew if your gut's a wreck, if you're walking around with a large toxin burden, things like that.
Right.
And then we also have an OT program that we designed usually around week 3 of either MERT or TMS. You see some things bubble. Like they start bubbling.
Mm-hmm.
I was not really allowed to cry as a child. And I finally did the MERT therapy when we opened the clinic. Week 3, every day I was crying into work, on the way into work, crying my eyes out. And I'm like yelling at myself, like, what are you crying about? Get it together. And that's all it was for me. So we designed this OT program that incorporates myofascial release. Fascia, if you peel back an orange, it's kind of like the white that encases the fruit. We have that all throughout our body. And the science was settled up until, a decade ago. They thought it's just inert tissue. But it actually, like Chinese medicine had it right with acupuncture because that addresses functional imbalances in the fascia at times, right? Mm-hmm. So we developed this program. It's occupational therapy. It's based on brain balance. It's billable to insurance, which I think is really important because so much of this therapy is so expensive. Yeah. But we do basic movements. We do primitive reflex integration, and then we add myofascial release. If you're listening to this, you're interested in PTSD, PTSI, PTS, listen to the body keep score because it does. And part of the place that holds it is the fascia. The body, it accumulates over time in the body. And sometimes what's not present in your mind can be present in chronic pain, different things in your body. And that's the fascia. So we really like to offer people occupational therapy and myofascial release through our OT program, because if it's week 3 and you start getting a little bubbly, right? Mm-hmm. It just makes it that much easier. It just processes out. We have a separate program like that for kids on the spectrum. And then through Task Force Dagger Foundation, we also got linked up with an incredible psychiatric nurse practitioner who was also a former nurse anesthetist, and she does ketamine therapy in the clinic. That's her own separate business, but people get a little, this and that about those things. I was a cop. I worked a lot in areas that were just saturated in drug use. So when people started talking about psychedelics, I was like, hold the phone.
Yeah.
I never saw somebody on PCP be like, that's it, I'm good to go.
Right.
They just never saw it. But what I think happens with ketamine, because I've seen some pretty amazing things in the clinic, is if you're always amped, your nervous system's really dysregulated, your baseline is a 7 to 10. 10's the worst, right? There's going to be consequences. It resets that baseline for you, right? So now when you're going through life, you're not white knuckling it, right? You have a new capacity and for just processing regular life information. So we have ketamine in the clinic. We do the nutritional stuff. We do the functional medicine. We always say to everybody, like, you could choose one, you could choose none. We have guys in there. We had a guy recently who was definitely PTSD. Like he had a hard time seeking help for it. Yeah. He really did. He was much older than we all are. He had lived some life. And so he said, I just want to do this one thing. And, I was like, you know what? Then just do it. I'm so proud of you that you're just doing one thing so that you can feel better living your life. Like, how cool is that you're this age and you're doing one thing for yourself?
Yeah. I love that, like the outlook of that. Like it is, I equate it to working out. Like, guess what? You don't have to do a full body max rep workout. You're just getting into it. Go move weights around.
Yeah. Start off slow.
Go do biceps for 10 minutes and go home. If
that's your flair, whatever, Yeah.
But the beginning will start something else. Step 1 starts step 2, that starts step 3. And really what usually happens And ironically enough, those people would normally go further, and the people who jump all in right off the bat
Crash and burn.
major expectations that are just unrealistic, and that they get really demotivated when they don't see them fast enough.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I think we see that a lot of times, when people don't see instant results, it's like, none of it works. It's like, bro, like there's no easy pill. There's no, magic pill. It's not going to cure everything.
That was true with me in prep. I started getting, okay, I have really low tests. Like we'll fix that. I have got my sleep study done.
Yeah.
Now I have a CPAP. I'm finally gonna sleep again. And I just expected the next couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be back to my old self.
Right.
CPAP never worked for me.
Yeah,
it just didn't.
I have an alternative for you.
It doesn't. I'm all ears.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do is refer to functional dentistry. And I have a device in my mouth. It's called an ALF device.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it resets the position of your tongue, and it also expands your airway, right? So it's not designed to replace a CPAP machine, but it inadvertently replaces the need for it. So the first 3 days I had this thing in my mouth, I didn't need braces. They start off with a CT, and my airway was pretty good because my surgeon had fixed me up pretty nice after my incident. And it reset the position of my tongue. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience for the first 3 days. And I talked to this nurse practitioner, and I was like, man, I got this ALF device. I feel like I'm walking around outside of my body, which is hard for me because I'm a very in control of the bubble person.
Yeah.
She said, oh, it's addressing your vagal nerve tone. Do you have PTSD? And I was like, yes, I do. And since then, sleep is my superpower since I've had this thing in my mouth. So we've tried to pull a lot of these types of referrals into our clinic for things like that. Another thing that we've been trying to do is get more educated and refer on Lyme disease, because the vector-borne illnesses are they're all over the regions you guys deploy and train in, and they have almost the same symptoms of TBI and PTSD.
Right.
Yeah. But the ALF device is a great device. We love Bronson family.
Spell that if you don't mind.
ALF.
ALF. Okay.
Just like
that's
the
what I
old
thought.
ladies. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't feel it. It's just in there. And it does. It helps. So when you sleep at night, you get this wash over your brain. It's like your central nervous system, your fluid from your spinal column comes up and washes all the oxidative stress out of your brain. If you're not sleeping well, that doesn't happen. So the ALF device makes that more accessible.
Yeah, we have all our kids in it. She has it. I'm getting mine in March. So yeah,
it's pretty cool.
We're sold on it. Yeah.
Is that something you guys provide, or is there a place you go for now?
Place we go, but
there's a family of doctors. They're all Dr. Bronson in Northern Virginia, and they're like the ALF guys, but you can get an airway device just about anywhere. But I would recommend the ALF one, because if you like the way it's making you feel, and you feel like for me, it's like, since doing MERT and having the ALF device in, I like to be hypervigilant. I don't see a problem with it. I want to know. I want to know where people's hands are. I want to know where the exits are. That makes me feel good. I don't want to take that away. However, since doing MERT and having the ALF device, the cortisol dump that had started to happen with that's gone. And I'm sleeping better, which makes everything better.
Yeah.
And you touched on the ketamine therapy, which I'm glad you did, because that was be something else I was going to bring up. What have you guys looked into? And again, I understand it's what works for one person may not work for another, and goes down the line. Have you looked into O2 therapy?
We do O2 therapy. Well, we do hyperbaric chamber. So we have we have a soft chamber. So it's not pure O2, but we have an oxygen inverter in there.
Have you done it?
Strangely enough, we own the damn clinic, and I haven't done it yet.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
It's so stupid. I own a TRT company. It took me months to get TRT, and I'm a co-owner in a TRT company.
Yeah, it's just you haven't. I'm like, I'm going to get in this every day, and I haven't been in it once. Yeah, it's crazy. But we started with HBOT just because it was one of the other things that we kept hearing, like, hey, it does works wonders. So we did our own research. We realized, this does amazing for a brain. And it's a soft chamber. It only goes down to the equivalent of about 10 or 11 feet, 1.5 ATA, something like that. But we went to a conference in September-ish. Yeah. And just hearing the stories, like there were some veterans up there. There was a Marine up there talking about how it like changed his life and just all the things it can be useful for. We're like, oh, you know.
I love the idea of it. I've done some research on it. Obviously there's a ton of research showing it that it's legitimate.
Yep.
And it makes sense. And it's obviously it's natural. The only downside to that is the amount of time. It's a time thing.
And that's why, you know, we're having trouble getting people in there because, you know, a lot of the recommendations are, hey, 20 to 40 sessions, you know, 3 times a week. Well, the session is you got to show up, make sure you don't have anything crazy in your pockets. It's going to catch on fire. Not that,
right.
You know, and then a few minutes to go down, 60 minutes of depth, 3 to 4 minutes to come up. And it's just like not many people, they're working adults, you know, not a lot of people have that time. But if you do have the time, man, it can do wonders over time.
Heard really good results from it.
You guys go to a lot of schools when you're trying to hone in your skill sets to be operators, right? And so I think that mentality needs to shift to like honing into like being the best afterwards for time.
Yeah.
Don't bring logic into this.
You stop it. I'll beat her later. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. No, she beats me. No, I'm kidding.
Get in my guard.
Yeah, get in my guard.
Don't make me feel bad with facts.
No, but it's true though, right? And I do the same thing. I'm like, I don't have time for that. She's like, you're always like trying to new workouts and like, you know, new supplement. I'm like,
I'm gonna do judo this week. Good.
Yeah.
And it actually reminds me of a saying, which is so true, is show me what you spend your time on, and I'll show you what's important to you.
Yeah.
And you can say you're serious about your own personal health, and you can say you're important about whatever it is.
Yep.
But show me the time you put into it, and I'll let you know if you're really serious about it.
Is this legit, or are you just talking the talk?
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a lot of people out there that do like, I'm all about wellness. Like, cool. You know, they go to the gym for 45 minutes 3 times a week, and then, you know, McDonald's and video games the rest of the time. Like, dude, bro, that's not.
I help with a lot of group therapies in the veteran settings. And I always kind of have this tagline, like, do you want changes? Yes. You got to make changes.
Yeah.
You got to commit to it. You got to make some changes. You got to get out of your box.
But if I just push harder, everything will be better, right? That's the deal. Yeah.
If I just do the same things harder.
If I just double up the weight, this will be fine. Which is why we're in the position we're in, I guess. Yeah.
You're doing pretty good, Landry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys came on and got to talk about this. It's something that gets talked about, but to bring someone in here that actually does it for a living, can touch on all the the different therapies, talk on the science behind it, the how we got there, what are we doing currently, what's the best out there. That's it's more than worth it to have you guys come out here. I love it.
Yeah, no, dude, this was absolutely amazing. And on that note too, like, we don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does, but we're constantly looking for, hey, what's another thing that we could possibly bring in there? Because we just want to, or refer people out to, like, Raymond. It's, hey, we might not have the answers, but we know a guy, and we'll send him out there. But just to bring, hope and just resilience and quality of life to everybody out there. That's what we're just in it for. So,
and the spouses,
of course, the spouses. Yeah.
I hate it because I'm going to bring it up now. In fact, I might clip it and throw this in at the beginning. But because if they've listened to it by this far, then they won't need to hear what I'm about to say. Guys will check out and they'll be like, oh, this isn't a war story. No one's stacking bodies.
Yeah.
This is, like what's, almost everyone that listens, not everyone, but almost everyone that listens to this podcast either knows someone that can benefit from this discussion, themselves can benefit from this discussion, or they're currently serving, whether it be military or as a first responder.
Yep.
And you will need to know something about this in the future.
Absolutely.
But because we're not talking about stacking bodies, they're like, well, I'll weigh in at the next episode.
No, I'll tell you need
listen
to know
this episode.
You need to know this because we have a friend. Chris is not an outgoing person talking about this stuff at all. And we got invited to a health symposium at Bragg. The first time he ever in front of his community said like, hey, I had something wrong with me.
Yeah, it was
But
weird.
what drove that was we had a friend.
Yeah, we had a friend who unfortunately put himself on the 22 a day, and like we found out 6 days before that, and as much as it was like, hey, get in front of a stage and just talk, briefly about your issues. That was still weird, but it was just like, you know what, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of regret goes into that about hey, didn't reach out, didn't notice, all those things. Feel horrible about it, but so that's why we're trying to do it now. So.
But I want to define that as he's somebody that you never thought would. He was young and easy to love and easy to be around. And I knew him longer than Chris did, and always had a smile on his face, always there for other people. And it just was the cumulative stuff and drinking and the wrong meds, and it just ended. And it was shocking that was the person. So everybody says, check in on people. Don't just check in on people. Be community with people.
Yeah.
Men heal in community with purpose.
For sure. For sure.
Right? Be in community with people.
I think what's just, and these are the things that I'm not an expert on it, but I don't have to be to see some of these things reoccur and question it.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be an expert to question some things. The amount of school shooters, the amount of people who commit suicide that are antidepressants makes me question antidepressants. Why wouldn't you? Like if that's what it's supposed to do,
right?
And you have people shooting up schools and shooting up public spaces and killing themselves, and they're on antidepressants, it makes me question antidepressants.
Absolutely.
Doesn't necessarily make me question as a complete whole, but there's something that deserves to be questioned there. Who are we giving them to? How much are we given? Like what is going on here?
Right. Is it interacting with other stuff that they're already on, and what they're doing in their life?
Right.
And what's their background? Have you talked about their brain health? Have you talked about how many times they've hit their head or blacked out on a jump or something like that? Is that really the appropriate thing to do in this situation, or is it the easy thing to do because it's on a flow chart?
There it is. Yeah. Or is it the easy thing to do?
That's
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
But we're as a community and as a culture, we're all so quick to talk about certain things. But I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but there's something with big pharma that has to be looked into. It's if I'm questioning it, it's gone. It's pretty bulletproof.
I think it's at a point now where many people are questioning it. It's not.
In the hospital, I do see where some things get people really regulated. There are people who just want the magic pill. That's their choice. We live in a free country. You get to make that choice. And sometimes that works for them.
Yep.
Sometimes it really doesn't. And that's why that's listed on the inserts. So it's not a conspiracy to point out their own disclaimers. Right?
Yeah, no, that's just truth. They say it.
It is. I mean, it is a free country. I mean, I can want things all I want.
But do you know what's best for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know all
the
the
Dilaudid felt great, but I can't just go in there and say I want more Dilaudid.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure shooting up heroin, I'm sure feels great in the moment. Is that, and you might want to do that, but that's probably not the best thing you should be doing.
Yeah.
Man. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Thanks for sharing your story, and we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. This was amazing.
If you won't use that O2 chamber, I'll come.
Come on out, man. We'll get you in it. We're going together. Make it weird. We're divers. We're divers, man. We can do that.
We went to the dive school. Yeah. We didn't even know. We've been in weirder situations before.
Right. Exactly.
In much shorter shorts.
Exactly. I still have mine, by the way. Yeah.
I still have my UDTs.
Nice.
I sure do.
Nice.
I can pretty much fit into them.
It's kind of scary when I do, but that's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
So you can,
what do you got?
we can follow us on Instagram. We're at Brain Treatment Center _Ashburn on Instagram. And our website is btcnva.com or braintreatmentcenterashburn.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I have one last thing.
Yeah.
Actually, you got to tell us a funny story.
shoot, a funny story. I'm brain farting right now. Help me out. I know you got a lot of funny stories.
Do you hear
It can't all be dark times. There's no
There's
stories.
that story where the Arabian Nights came down the thing. I don't even know.
I don't know if that's really a funny story,
think
but
it's funny because I'm not as exposed to that.
no. So yeah, where was that?
Or do you have a better, funnier story? I'm sure that you have some.
Yeah, no. So I'll just say that because you said it, but it's really not that funny a story. But we'll go with it. No, we were in Mali and we were on a boat. It's like the weekend thing. So it's like, you know, hey, you can do whatever. These 3 like Arabian Night dudes come up and they're on horses, and it's like you could see them on top of the hill. We're stopped for lunch or something.
Turbans and flares.
Yeah, like
pictures of
the
them.
whole thing.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of them actually as they like riding down towards us, and we're like, oh, this is cool. You know, the Arabian Nights, we're going to take pictures with them. And we're all packing. No one knows, but we're all packing.
Right.
And they start like yelling at us. And we're like, the fuck did he just say?
Right.
And our interpreter's like, no, they're demanding you give them money. And then we just flashed them, and then they just, no more yelling. They just all took off, man. And it was kind of funny, but it was like, yeah, that was interesting. Almost got robbed by Arabian Nights of, you know, Aladdin was just trying to rob me.
That's where the old Malawi phrase came from. Don't bring a sword to a gunfight. Yeah. An Arabian sword to a gunfight.
Arabian sword, man. Yep. It was like that scene in Indiana Jones with the dudes doing all the sword tricks.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
It would have been like that.
Cool horses. They still can't outrun bullets.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. Exactly.
We'll take it.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.